Assalamu alaikum. Oh, great, the live chat. Sorry, guys, I was about 2 minutes late today into the room. There was a bit of a technical mishap that I thought I would try my best to fix. I'm hoping it's fixed. Let me know if the quality, guys, is as good as it normally is. Because my computer seems to be running a bit slow for some reason today. And alhamdulillah, there's a lot of people in the room today. A lot of people excited for this stream. Let's just let everyone come in and let me just check on how the stream is doing on my phone as well at the same time, which is bad etiquette really, but I'm just being a bit self-conscious. Okay, it seems fine, we'll get started. If it's too slow, guys, let me know and I'll try and figure something out. But wa alaikum salam, thank you so much, guys, for joining me for today's episode of, I'm not even looking at you guys, I'm looking at a laptop, of Habitual Muslim. We're on day 8 now of the live stream, and for anyone who is new here, we're here talking about kind of productivity, efficiency, and how we can be productive, efficient, and form great habits, both in kind of the sense of the real world and also as a Muslim, and as kind of lay Muslims, how we can kind of just maximize our days. And so yesterday I mentioned that today we'll be joined by a very special guest, Anas, who I'm not really going to give him much of an intro because I want to bring him on as soon as possible so that we can maximize our time with him. I know everyone is very much so excited for it. Okay, Hannah, wa alaikum assalam, Nafisa, you guys all back in the room. It's nice to see the regulars come back. Father Sunglasses, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And alright, let's bring Anas into the room and then we'll start the chat. Alright, let's do this. Boom, and we're in. Anas, how's it going?
Alhamdulillah, how's it going, bro?
Alhamdulillah, very, very well, man. Jazakallah khair for joining us. Thank you so much for joining us on such a kind of last minute / like whim of a question. I kind of just threw you a DM and alhamdulillah, you responded and you were up for kind of joining us on the stream. So I really appreciate that, man.
No worries, barakallah feek for having me. Like mashallah, you've obviously been doing this live stream for quite a few days, so you're doing some good stuff, and thanks for having me, bro.
Jazakallah khair, yeah, man. We just thought we'd test it out, see how kind of live streaming goes, and well, I suppose there's a community of us who I suppose trying to make ourselves better people each and every day, and I think we'd consider ourselves, or I would definitely consider myself, just a kind of the lay person who wants to pick up on anything and everything he can. And in so doing, I came across your YouTube channel and was so inspired by the stuff that you're putting out, man. Honestly, I really look at you like as an inspiration when it comes to motivation and focus. And I saw one of your recent videos, which was about your studying. I think you did a 2-hour video on your studies, a real-time study with me, and you were doing a study with me after your exams, and it was just kind of to keep the knowledge in rather than studying for an actual exam. And I saw one of the comments that really made me laugh because the comment was like exactly what I was thinking, and the comment said, it said, me after an exam forgets everything, Anas after an exam studies to keep the knowledge in. And I thought that's exactly what I was thinking. So why is it that you study, you're always keeping on top of your studies even when there's no exams to do? You've now, Allahumma barik, graduated as a junior doctor. So why is it that even now that you've got the kind of accreditation that you can kind of move forward into your career, that you want to keep your knowledge up, and such intense study sessions as well?
Yeah. So I saw some of those comments as well. They were quite funny ones actually. But yeah, I mean, one of the main reasons is essentially just because I'm essentially starting work in August, and part of our work as kind of doctors and junior doctors is dealing with patients and caring for them and all of that aspect. So like for me, it was just about kind of trying to keep the knowledge in check just before I start working. And make sure that I'm not forgetting stuff, and that I'm able to provide like the best patient care to when the time arrives, essentially. And it's just about keeping knowledge up to date and some of those aspects, because you lose it very quickly, especially when I've got 3 months left of nothing and then 2 months of quarantine. It can get lost very, very quickly. So just keeping things up to date, that was kind of my thought process behind it. But yeah, I'm definitely not doing as much as I was doing before, to be honest. So, yeah.
Do you find it kind of odd that it's so alien to a lot of us when nobody's forcing us to study, we choose kind of not to.
Yeah. Yeah, to be honest, I can imagine it must be like very strange.
Mm.
Even for me, like a couple of years ago, I don't think this would have been something I would have done. But I think it might be a bit of fear as well that's kind of pushing me towards it, just because I've never worked as a junior doctor, and like the learning curve is going to be extremely steep. So it was just about, what, like, let me just get my head down, try and make sure like I'm ironing out all the issues before I start working, so I don't make any mistakes.
Oh man, I'm sure you're going to do an awesome job, man.
Yeah,
Honestly, I kind of watching your videos and stuff. As I said, it's very, very inspiring, and I'm very conscious that I kind of want to get straight into the questions with the people in the chat
yeah,
as well, so they can kind of ask questions, and I want to
yeah,
definitely
go for it.
spin the wheel. But before we do, just one last question that I had on my mind is. And by the way, sorry, for anybody who's watching the stream, if you're new here, if you want to ask a question to Anas, just write in capital letters the word question and then your question. It's just easier for me to kind of sieve through it in the chat. And also, if your question is on a particular topic that you can kind of see on the wheel, just write the topic in capital letters and then your question, and then we'll kind of sieve through them. Anas, just as a kind of final one from me, you
Yeah,
recently uploaded a video, I think it may have been your most recent one, about the state of flow.
yeah,
And I found it
yeah,
really, really interesting, and felt that I could relate to it so much once you had kind of described what it was.
yeah,
What is, so if, for those who haven't seen that video yet, and I recommend they will do, what
yeah.
is the state of flow and how can one enter it?
Okay. Yeah, so I made that video very recently, and in fact, it was something that I read about like very recently as well. It's not something I'd been kind of researching for ages, and I think we can kind of all relate to it as well. But essentially, the state of flow is just it's a state in which you're doing an activity, and you essentially just enjoy it so much that you forget about time, and that's kind of the balance really. You're doing it for so long, and you're forgetting time, but you enjoy it at the same time, and you're not being distracted by other things. So all your focus is on kind of getting this specific task completed. Um,
Uh,
and obviously, I related this to studying, but we've all experienced it in other aspects. So, like when we're playing sports or we're playing football, for example, or you've got a deadline in a day. Literally, you'll pull out some crazy like energy that you didn't think you had, but it just kind of it comes out at those moments. So it's about really trying to pull those out at moments when you want to pull them out, and not have it just happen on its own when the pressure kind of comes on. And that was kind of essentially the point I was trying to address in that video.
Yeah, man, and you explained it so well, because it reminded me of, so essentially kind of the feeling of like you almost get so gassed off of the fact that you're
Yeah,
working, you forget about time, you
yeah,
forget about eating even.
yeah,
It's almost like that, the state of flow that you mentioned there is similar to taking a study drug without taking the drug, right? It's like, because what a study
yeah,
drug
yeah.
normally does for a lot of people is, as soon as you take it, you forget you need to go to the toilet, you forget you need to eat, you're just so zoned in the work.
Exactly.
And this is kind of a natural way of getting it, once you're in it though, and that's the tough thing, I suppose.
Yeah.
So how does one ensure that they can enter the state of flow? Are there some kind of techniques?
Yeah, so I mentioned a few ones that I found useful in the video. I could talk a bit about them now. So there was a few. So the first one was to do with goal setting. So
Hmm.
I mean, if you look at sports, for example, sports always has a specific goal. If I'm playing football and I'm in a team, then the main aim of that game is for me to score and win the game, right? So taking that and applying it to other aspects of our life. So if I'm studying, then I need to apply that very same principle of goal setting. So setting specific goals, both for the sessions in the immediate time. So in the next hour, 2 hours, having very specific goals, but also in the long term. Knowing clearly of why you're doing all of this really helps kind of push you into the flow, because you've got a direction. And the second one was to do with removing distractions. So essentially, you've got the direction. Once you're clear on the direction, then you want to remove any obstacles that's going to stop you from getting to the place you want to be, right? So you've got a destination, and any kind of distraction, any traffic is going to stop you from getting there. So doing your best to remove all of those distractions, whatever it may be. If it's a phone that's distracting you, then let that be. Or if it's kind of people at home, then go to the library. Whatever you can do, just removing those distractions. really will help kind of push you into the flow state. I think that those are something that help me anyway. I don't know about you. Is that something you
Now,
found as
bro,
well? Or?
the distraction thing, 100%. I
Yeah,
think that as soon as I, even this month in Ramadan, I found it so effective in knowing that Ramadan is a limited time to trying to maximize
yeah,
what I'm doing. As soon as I put my phone away, and what I did is, so I've started using so I've got a desk kind of dock charger for my phone, right?
yeah,
So it's
yeah,
not on a
yeah,
lead nearby. I kind of place it on there and it wirelessly charges. And so when I
yeah,
put it on that dock I put kind of near my coffee machine in the kitchen. So
yeah,
I never can. It's never really within arm's reach. So that's really helped
yeah,
removing that distraction. And I think that perhaps I was goal setting, kind of short term and long term goal setting prior to
yeah,
watching your video. But when watching your video, it really allowed me to kind of add a label to it and to
yeah,
say, okay, when I'm in this session, if I'm editing a video, how is it that I can
yeah,
edit a video so effectively and so efficiently?
yeah,
But when I'm trying to put my concentration on something else with this in the same amount of time and it's a simpler task, I can't necessarily
yeah,
do it as effectively. And I
yeah,
realised that what it is a short-term goal, which is I need to finish this edit, and there's a long-term
yeah,
goal in that my overall goal is I want to create content that does X, Y, and Z. So yeah, I
yeah,
definitely found that, man. I definitely found that.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, yeah, go for it.
no, go ahead.
And I was just going to say, I mean, I think for many of us, these are things that we kind of do anyway. So some aspects we apply in our lives, like sometimes we do set goals, sometimes we do try and remove distractions. But I think once you've identified it as an entity, like you know that flow is an entity and it's something that can help you achieve your goals, and it's much easier to try and pull it out when you kind of
Yeah.
need to. Once you know about it, then it's easier to address, I guess.
Yeah, sometimes just
Yeah,
putting labels on things helps in general because you
yeah,
understand the clear direction, right?
yeah.
We're getting so many questions for you, Anas. I know you can't see. I don't know if
Okay.
you've got the stream going up somewhere
I
else, but
can't.
we've got so many.
No, I can't see it. I can't see it.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to be selfish and spin the wheel first before we go to a question. So let me
Go
just
for it.
switch the camera view. There we go.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're going to spin the wheel there, and we'll have a look what it lands on for Anas. Okay,
I
it's
can't see it.
landed on.
Where is it?
It's landed on public speaking. And do you want to
Okay.
answer, or should we spin it again?
What
Do you have
about public?
Okay,
Yeah,
so
sure.
anything that comes to mind. I was hoping that it would land on tech because I'm really intrigued to know what kind of tech you find most efficient. But I don't also want to be unfair. So if we
No,
will
no.
spin it again, I'll only spin it again.
We can do the tech as well. Either one. I don't mind.
Okay, let's do one more spin and see where it lands on, and then hopefully it lands on tech. Otherwise, we'll have to figure it out. I break the rules a lot with this wheel. Oh, look at that! It landed on tech. Alhamdulillah.
There we go.
There we go. So anything, but so essentially, when we spin the wheel, whatever it lands on, we either answer a question from someone in the room who's asked a question about that topic, or if we have something that comes to mind, we speak about that. So I put that to you, bro. Anything to do with tech that kind of makes your life more efficient, something that you love, something that you recently discovered, or whatever. I'll hand it over to you.
Okay. Um, to be honest, a lot of the tech I use is to do with kind of my work essentially, which is the YouTube stuff I'm studying. But yeah, I mean, one of the things I talk about a lot is the iPad. It seems like people think I'm like a real advocate for it, like I'm sponsored. But really, I just kind of like the product itself. But yeah, I mean, the way I found it useful is literally just kind of the writing experience. I don't know if you've used it before, like the pen and the iPad.
Yeah, so
Uh,
I used to work at Apple when they launched the iPad Pro,
yeah.
and I'm not. There's been a few times where I've almost bought an iPad and I've just not been convinced by it. I've not been
Okay.
convinced by it.
What are you not convinced by?
First of all, I have a really cool notepad that I use
Okay, fine.
for like immediate notes, and anything that
Yeah.
doesn't need to be is not an immediate note. I find that any software or hardware I use, mainly the software I use on my Mac, is sufficient, and so I just haven't found a problem that solves for me.
Fine. Okay. Okay. I see. Fair enough. But for a lot of people, what they find is that like they have loads of paper lying around, or like even if you've got kids, for example, you want them to do questions, right? It's literally stuff that you can just download on as a PDF, and you just pull it into the software, and you can just get them to do questions. Literally, just right on the sheet. You don't need to like print anything out. You don't need to think about having paper lying around or throwing it and all of those aspects. So for me, anyway, using that a way of going completely paperless. Like I don't have any papers in my house.
Wow.
I don't usually I don't usually keep books either. Literally just do everything on it. I read books on there, take notes on there, like even planning life aspects. So if I'm going to write down goals or journaling and all of that, just pull out the pen, write on there. That's something I found useful. Just kind of getting the
Do
paper
you
out of my life.
do you read much non-fiction books
Not very, yes, non-fiction, yeah, a bit of non-fiction.
outside of like
Uh,
kind of medical, outside of your medical books?
Here and there, bro, here and there, here and there.
Yeah,
Whenever I feel like there's a topic I need to look
fair
into.
enough.
Yeah,
Could you come up with a kind of, does one come to mind as we kind of as we're talking?
one, yeah. So one that I read, I actually listened to it on Audible, The 4 Hour Work Week. I don't know if
I
you've
love
listened
the
to it.
4 hour work week. Yeah, listen to it on Audible
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well. I think it's an 8 hour listen. I think.
yeah. It was roughly 8 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an excellent book. Even in terms of even if you don't want to build a business, to be honest, just for
Bro.
efficiency reasons, it
Oh
talks about
man.
like how you can time manage or manage your time and giving like not doing loads of tasks simultaneously, for example. That's part of that actually like links into flow as well because you become distracted by doing multiple things at once. So really like compartmentalizing your time. This time this next hour is dedicated for editing videos. The following 2 hours dedicated to maybe going out with family, and then after that maybe emails. Instead of doing them all simultaneously, like you don't need to have a business for those kinds of aspects. So I think it could be useful for anyone who wants to be a bit more efficient with their day.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. I think that I often, when I talk about a book that is meant for something but relates to everyone, I often talk about,
Yeah.
and I did yesterday, about Bob Iger's book, who is the CEO of Disney,
Oh yeah.
The Ride of a Lifetime, which is it's meant to be a book about leadership, right, and specifically in
Yeah.
business. But what I found is that everyone is a leader in some way in
Yeah.
their life, whether you're an
Yeah.
older brother or a leader in a business. And that book really, really benefited me, and so I always recommend that book as to
Yeah.
anyone and everyone, even though it's kind of meant for leadership. The 4 hour work week I
Yeah.
absolutely love. So my journey with the 4 hour work week is that I was probably actually definitely really negatively kind of I didn't have the greatest perception of Tim Ferriss.
Yeah.
I didn't have the worst either, but I enjoyed his podcast. But I thought, how much can I learn from a book written by this guy? It seemed like he's an influencer, and so I thought he's got podcasts,
Yeah.
and the thing that makes sense is to write a book. But I was completely wrong, and I was so glad I was. It was sitting on my shelf for so long, and I finally ended up listening to it on Audible, and I absolutely
Yeah.
loved it. And there was so much I learned from it. So yeah, really, really happy with that.
Yeah. That was,
Let's go into some questions. We've got a bunch of questions for you, Anas. So, guys, like I said, if you have a question that's for Anas, just type in capitals question on the chat, and then what I'll do is I'll sieve through them. I'm just going to scroll up a little right now because there's a bunch that came in as we were having our chat. I'm going to try my best to pick up ones that I find relevant. Okay, we've got a lot of medicine questions. I think we've got a lot of
oh man.
medical students on here. I imagine that
Oh,
you.
is it?
I imagine that that's from you putting that on the story. Okay, this is a good
Oh,
question.
is it?
So we've got a question here that says, just try and pop it up onto the stream. There we are. Oh,
Let's
I've
go.
lost it again. It says, were you this hardcore in terms of focusing during studying when you did A levels?
Nah, to be honest, I was the total opposite. Yes, so I mean, the backstory really is just very briefly was that I did my A level, so I did GCSEs, I did decent, so I was happy with that. Then I went into A levels, and I think I probably just underestimated what kind of work it required. So I didn't do much at all for it. So and then I applied for medicine, I didn't get in, and it was literally all down to kind of the work ethic. That's what, like, on reflection, it was literally I just didn't work hard enough. So once I didn't get in, and it was just a bit of a it was quite a big hit. I got into uni and I did a different course, and
Okay.
that's when it was time to change the ways, essentially just change my ways, and that was kind of the real turning point. Yeah, and probably the learning point from that as well was, you know what, things happen and you fail and you make mistakes. But really, it's about kind of reflecting on them afterwards and seeing, what am I doing wrong and rectifying them. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
nice, man. Glad to hear. Glad to hear there was light at the end of that tunnel. We've got a question from
alhamdulillah.
Sham, again study related, but probably one that a lot of people are going through right now. She says, she or he says, my A-level biology and chemistry exams have been cancelled and therefore my
Yeah.
motivation died down. How do I maintain motivation for revision and studying?
Oh, okay. Good question. Good question. So that's a tough one because then you don't exactly have a specific goal to work towards. It really depends. If you've got exams, if you still have like the exams have been cancelled, but if there's a risk that you might not get the grades, or I've heard that I mean, if you don't agree with the predicted grades that the teachers give you, then you might have to sit the exam anyway. So maybe that could be used as just kind of a motivating factor in order to kind of push someone to study for A levels. But if the A levels are done and you're sure you've got the grades, then in that case, probably like there are loads of other things that you could do. If you've got your place and the exams are done and you've got your predicted grades, whatever, then I guess there are like you can find new goals to work towards. If that makes sense.
Yeah, so essentially setting goals that are realistic to you. So even
Yeah,
it is what it sounds like you're saying. So even if, for example, your exams have been cancelled and you don't know when they're going to be, it's just,
yeah,
all it is that you had a kind of end goal in mind, which was the exam. So kind of creating
yeah.
a new end goal, right?
So it really depends on circumstances because some people, even though the exams have been cancelled, they already know what grades they're gonna get because it's based on like predicted grades and the teachers essentially are going to give them the grades. But if you feel like you're at risk and you probably won't get the grades that you need, then obviously it's key that you continue working for them. But then, yeah, if you've already got the grades, then work towards the long-term goals, really, like you said.
So we've got a question here that says, "What do you do when you feel lazy but have a lot of work to do?" So that's an intriguing question because it seems
Oh,
like someone like yourself never feels lazy.
nah, bro. If only you knew, man. No, I think, yeah, that's a difficult one. I think that's something we can all relate to, innit?
Right.
With being lazy. But I guess one thing that I try to do is kind of separate emotions from work, and not to let kind of emotions dictate the things that I need to do. So if I need to so if today I have a video to release, or I've got some kind of specific work or a specific task that I need to get done, then I try and see it more in terms of the perspective of discipline. Like I need to be disciplined enough in order to get this thing done, rather than it being like, okay, I don't feel like doing it, so let me not do it. So trying to remove the emotional aspect from it and not being guided by it, and rather being guided by your need to be disciplined and get your things done. That's kind of how I'll try to separate things. But it's easier said than done, honestly.
It
It's
sounds
easy
like
to
you're
say this
someone
here.
who. It sounds like you're someone who really values time as generally as a concept, and not wasting it. We were speaking 2 days ago on a live stream about well, from an Islamic
Yeah,
perspective, how this scholar who said he saw a few people playing, and he said if only time was a thing that could be bought and sold, I would buy it from them. Do you see?
yeah,
It seems like you value time in a very similar way.
yeah. I guess. Yeah. So obviously, like, I would have time for other things as well. Like, even when so say like I'm not working, then I'll go out with friends, go to restaurant, do all of the things that you enjoy. But when it comes, essentially, it's just about the discipline. When time comes to work, then it kind of needs to get done. Whether I feel like doing it or whether I don't feel like doing it, that's kind of irrelevant. Or I try to make it irrelevant at least, and just get the task done. But yeah, I would say yeah, time is making use of time is the key aspect of life. Is it?
Okay, let's go ahead and spin this wheel again. So I know you can't see it, so we'll let you know what
Yeah,
it lands on, and that's.
yeah. Go ahead.
But for the viewers watching at home in the room, it has landed on public. Look, it's landed on public speaking again, so we have to now. We
It
can't
was
go against
qadar.
it.
It was
So
qadar
yeah, it's
Allah.
kind of. So Anas, anything? This could be something like a story, a tip, or something that you struggled with to do with public speaking. And public speaking could mean a presentation you've had to do at uni. It could be a job interview that you've taken, or speaking in front of thousands. So does something come to mind?
I mean, I could just speak about my general experience with it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, so I think sort of public speaking was something I'd get like really nervous about. Literally, like I remember there was one time I was doing a presentation at uni. Literally, I was standing and I could see my legs shaking. That's how nervous I'd be. That's literally how it was. But I think with anything like this, it's just practice is really just the key. Like whenever I have any presentations now, even though I was so nervous back then, after doing it repeatedly, it's something that you become more used to. So like, because once you've gone out of your comfort zone and you've done it enough, then that thing which was outside your comfort zone becomes inside your comfort zone. Essentially, it comes into your circle. So I would say, you know what, if it's something you get really nervous about, do it anyway, because eventually you'll just kind of overcome the nerves by practice, and it just becomes something normal, I guess. But I don't know. Do you have any experience with it? I'm sure you do.
Yeah, but I did an entire stream on public speaking the other day. So
Oh yeah,
for those who haven't seen that, it's very much so worth it. But I was kind of saying that it's one of those things that a lot of people fear, but to kind of attack it, by all means necessary. Because
yeah,
if you can get to the point where you're very confident in speaking in public, it's an
yeah,
amazing advantage just in your character, and it will open many doors for you. Because when you're competing with
yeah,
others, whether it's for a job or anything else, if you have the advantage of public speaking, it's often an advantage that others don't have. And so yeah, that's why I think it's kind of worth going through by all
yeah,
means necessary. Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Definitely.
uh,
Yeah. Go on.
no, sorry, go ahead. There's a bit of a lag,
No,
so we
no.
might end up going over each other a bit. So just for those who are listening in the room.
I was gonna say that essentially, just following on from your point as well. One of the ways to try and kind of people ask, like, how can I stand out at interviews, or how can I stand out in my career or whatever. These days, a lot of people are specialized in one thing, right? You're a specialist in as an engineer, or you're a specialist in business. Whereas the people who really probably will excel over the next maybe 20, 30 years are people who be good at maybe two or three things that might not be related. So maybe someone who's an engineer but also is good at coding, or someone who's maybe like a pharmacist but also has a podcast.
Right.
When those two things are kind of really unrelated, but then this person has both of these kind of skills, that makes that person really unique, and someone who's like they can't be exchanged, right?
Right.
So
Yeah,
I
it makes
guess
them
with public
valuable.
speaking, then I guess with public speaking that adds another kind of important skill for someone.
100%, man. 100%. Um, I got a question here from Nafisa, who's a regular on the stream. I think she's. Nafisa, have you been in the room every day of the stream? We're 8 days in. I'll wait for you to answer that. But in the meantime, Nafisa has asked a question that I think a few others have asked, which is essentially kind of. Well, I'll make it a bit more generic in that your kind of YouTube channel is all about productivity, efficiency, and kind of
Yeah.
making the most of the time of your time. Have you used any of your go-to habits and skills in productivity for Ramadan? Is there something that in Ramadan how do you make your Ramadan efficient? How do you make your time efficient in this month?
Yeah. Um, yeah. So, I mean, I guess one of them is flow, but and that can be applied really to anything, even when if you're praying Tarawih at home, just kind of trying to, I mean, setting specific goals. Halas, today I'm going to pray 8 rak'ahs, or I'm going to pray 20 or whatever. You're making sure you're getting it done, and in terms of long term, for the next 30 days, I'm going to make sure I do it kind of every day. But the other thing is like habit formation and the discipline aspect. So if you're, for example, reading Quran, and so one of the efficient ways of kind of finishing a whole juz, for example, is doing maybe reading four pages of a juz, and then by the end of the day, after each salah, you've kind of completed a whole juz, and then you can finish that in 30 days. So making sure that aspect is also done consistently, and you're making sure you're not missing it, and you're giving it its own compartmentalized time within your day. I guess maybe it's something that's helped.
Okay, that's actually got me onto a question that I'm really intrigued on your answer in. Kind of, I suppose we probably got just under 10 minutes left of the stream, so we will spin the wheel again before we finish. But the question is this: so you just spoke about kind of setting a goal, like for example the 4 pages, but let's expand this out to any goal.
Yeah.
When it comes to discipline, if you fall off one time, right? So if a person's on a diet and then they have something bad that they weren't meant to for a day, any sort of falling off of your discipline, I find that the hardest thing is to pick yourself up from when you fall, because you've now broken the chain. How do you not let that turn into a downhill spiral, whether it comes to studies or anything else with discipline?
Yeah, that one's really difficult, because once you, it's painful. Once you've built up the momentum, right? You built up momentum for, I don't know, 20, 30 days of gym, or 3 weeks, or 3 months, whatever, or studying, or whatever it might be. Once you've had the momentum and then you suddenly break it, it can be painful. There was a video I watched by someone called Matt Diavella. I don't know if you've
Awesome YouTuber.
Yeah, and he talked about the 2-day rule for his gyms, for his kind of for his gym sessions. Yeah, so he says that what he does is he tries to go to gym every day as kind of a routine, right? But if he misses a day, then at least he makes sure that he doesn't miss 2 days, right? So if he's gonna miss a day, then he misses a day, and then he makes sure that he goes back to it the following kind of the 3rd day. So yeah, I guess you could try and follow the 2-day rule. So if you fall off, then you know what, it's cool. But then try and get onto it, at least the 3rd day. So try not to miss loads of days consistently, because that just makes it more difficult to get back into it in the first place. We're all gonna fall off anyway. So I guess even if you've fallen off for however long, it's always good to come back.
Nice, man. I'm kind of reading the comments at the same time, and I hadn't heard of the 2-day rule. I really like it. It actually reminded me of another rule that I can't remember who came up with this rule, but it was to do with minimalism, and it was definitely someone whose book I read, but I can't remember. But I'll save that rule for another stream in case it comes up a topic. One person, B Medic, asks a cool question here before we spin the wheel. What has been the most valuable skill that you've adopted in day-to-day life? I like that question. Just day to day.
Wow. Ooh.
It's a good one, isn't it? I was just thinking about an answer for myself as well, to be honest. And I was thinking, what could it be that day to day I do now as a habit I've implemented, and it's a skill that it's taken me time to pick up on, but now I'm just kind of glad I am. I suppose for me it would be kind of waking up really early, because I don't think anybody naturally wakes up at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. So it has to be a skill that you develop, but once you have, you're just so grateful for it. I don't know if you're a morning person or not.
Yeah, bro, that question is really introspective.
Right.
I have to think about it properly. I guess one thing I learned from someone else's video, I can't remember who it was. Someone talked about, I think it was in the 4-hour work week.
Okay.
Tim Ferriss, and he was like, try to make sure that you at least have 2 or 3 major goals in your day, and those are kind of your main aims of the day. So and then once you've got those things done, at least like you've the main tasks of the day have been completed, and then you can move on to all other kind of miscellaneous things you want to get done. But at least you have 2-3 things that, you know what, they're the top priority for each day that you need to get done. That's something that's helped. So usually what I have is, at least one thing, today is say I need to drop something to the post office. That's one of the main things I need to get done today. Then you know what, once I've done that, then I feel like at least I've done something productive today. I've got this one specific task that at least I've been relieved of. So yeah, I guess that's one thing day to day.
Do you use to-do lists much? I found that, just like you said, satisfying that kind of that ticking that box of completing a task, that really helps me. So I remember a few days ago I was having quite a bit of a unproductive couple hours, and I was working on something for a long time. I was working on this specific goal, and I was kind of just I kept kind of coming to a dead end with it. And I got to the point where I thought to myself, do you know what, for a mental win, I just need to tick a task off right now. So I looked at my to-do list and I saw a task that was so simple, probably take 5 minutes of my time, but the win of ticking that task off would have really motivated me to then come back to this task. And so, do you know what, I just paused the task I was on, I did the very easy one. It could have been something like forward this email to this person or something like that, something just super easy. I did that task, I ticked the box, and it just felt, okay, that's a task done. I feel like I've done something for it. Let me go back to it now, and it helps. So do you utilize to-do lists?
Yeah, but you know what? I've tried once. I think that's something I need to get into, like making a to-do list. Usually, I just
Right.
keep up like a mental list of things. That's
Ah.
a bad habit from my part, to be honest. I
To be
think
honest, it might, if
usually,
it works for you, it works.
no, I've heard good things about to-do lists. It comes up everywhere. Everyone talks about it, so it might be something that's worth giving a proper go. But yeah, definitely like ticking things off, because we want to feel like we've made some progress. Like being stuck in something isn't it's not a nice feeling. So uh, yeah, I guess it makes total sense, man. From what you're saying.
Yeah, I often give. I have different types of lists, personal lists and work lists and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And in some of my lists, I even have other people who have access to them, so they can add tasks to my list. And these
Oh
people have
yeah.
to be people who I trust, because I can't just have people adding tasks for no reason. But a very, very select one or two individuals who
Yeah.
would enhance my kind of efficiency, and I allow them to add to my list. Which I found really effective. Let's go ahead and
That's
spin the
it.
wheel before we where are we at now? Okay, we've got about 4 minutes left, so we'll spin the wheel and see what it lands on for you. Let's have a look. Let's see how the chat's going. I am reading the questions and comments, guys, at the same time. Okay, cool. It's landed on question, Anna. So what we'll do is we'll go to the
All
room
right.
for a question. I'm gonna try and find one that has that kind of is separate to the kind of stuff that we've already seen asked. So let me have a look. Okay, actually, I like that one. Actually, fine? So yesterday, so I did ask a question, and the question is, do you have any experience where you kind of trick your mind? So in yesterday's stream, the yesterday stream was all about
Yeah.
tricking the mind, and we spoke about concepts such as putting your food on a smaller plate, and so you're tricking your
Oh
mind
yeah.
into kind of thinking that your plate's full, and you're kind of eating less, and a bunch of other kind of tricks and stuff. Do you utilize any of that? Do you try and trick your mind into anything for kind of the sake of achieving a goal?
Ooh. Yeah, that's an interesting point. I haven't used it as such
Mm.
before. No, not specifically. I think maybe something that's similar to it is like using visualization. So something I use, like this is something I've done for ages, even before I knew it was a thing. Like every night before I go to bed, I try and envision suppose I've got an interview the following day, or I've got a presentation or something. Literally try and go through that whole presentation in my head,
I
as
like
if it's
that.
happening in real time. And then once you've experienced it really vividly in your head the night before, it's almost like you've already done it. So once you get
Hmm.
to actually the real life task, then it just happens as a breeze, and you're also able to kind of iron out all the mistakes, because as you go through the thing that you need to do the following day, the night before, you start to identify questions, you start to identify issues. So I found that to help. So I guess maybe that's some type of trickery. I don't know, but that's
No, it
something I
is.
use.
I've actually one of my mentors in when I was having some sessions about public speaking was telling me about visualization and the importance of it, and how every time he goes onto a
Yeah,
stage, even in front of thousands of people, he likes to go to the venue early to visualize
yeah,
his set. And it's one thing that I kind of struggle with. I don't utilize visualization as much as I probably
yeah.
wish I did. What we'll do, bro, is we're gonna go with one more question on the chat, and then one more spin on the wheel, and then we'll call it a day. So I found
All right,
one
cool.
question here that I think a lot of us will benefit from. It's from Father Sunglasses, again a regular on the stream, who asks, "How do you not get burnt out?" Such a good question, man. What do you do? Do you take a break 1 hour in and
Yeah.
allow yourself 5 minutes on your phone? What do you do? How do you not get burnt out?
Ooh, yeah. That's another difficult question. Well, a good question as well. Um, I guess. I mean, it really depends. So, my most of my experience has been with studying and working at home, or editing videos, I guess. But usually those tasks, right? I do them by default. So, so say something comes up that I really want to do. So say I have there's an event going on, or I'm planning to go out with friends, or I might go out and play, like, say an opportunity comes up to go and play sports. Then usually I just go and get those things done, because it's just something I enjoy and something I that would help in the long term. And then whenever all of those aspects do not exist, so if I don't have any football sessions, or I don't have any other events that I need to go to, then I get back to work. So usually the work that I need to do is by default, and when other things come up that I might enjoy, or that's going to help me not be burnt out, then I get those things done too. If that makes sense.
I don't know. Well, that sounds like it's taken a lot of training to get to, because for a lot of us, the work is the thing that we're trying not to get burnt out from. But you've managed to kind of get that as a default setting, which is really cool, man. I like that a lot. Let's go ahead and spin the wheel one last time. Sorry, bro. I told you it'd be up to 40 minutes max. We've just hit 40 minutes. Are you okay to answer one more question from the wheel?
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, sure.
All right, sweet. Great, I love that. Okay, we've landed on something that I think we haven't touched on today, and that's balance.
Okay.
So I'm gonna again hand it over to you. So something, whether it's a story, a tip, an experience you had, but something to do with balance.
Balance. Ooh.
Which is a good one, actually, because you on your YouTube channel, I think the thing that's so great about it is how we're able to learn so much about productivity. And to be fair, just while you think about it, I think that your YouTube channel, indirectly, it has a lot to show of balance. Because I watched today your desk setup video, right? And I was kind of envying you for your monitor, and it made me realize that the things that you enjoy, you allow yourself to delve into. So for you, productivity is not something that you force yourself into. You enjoy being productive, and therefore rewarding yourself with something like a monitor that allows you to increase in productivity. It seems like you get your balance from kind of allowing yourself to enjoy it. Would I be right in saying that?
Yeah. So I would say, yeah, definitely that's one aspect. So kind of definitely trying to enjoy the things that I'm doing all the time. But I think, but also it links on to the other point, to the previous point, which was the work by default, which really I try and not to miss opportunities to have fun. Like if someone calls me and they're like, okay, bro, let's go out and eat or something, or in next week we've got an event, then I always try and work around it. I always try and not say no to those things, because that's when you feel burnout, because you feel like all your friends are outside and they're having fun and this and this and that, but then you're at home working. But then if you're trying to work most of the time by default and you're not missing out on all of those other aspects, that's how I try to keep the balance, essentially.
I like that, man. Anas, I really, really appreciate you giving me your time today, and giving your time to all of us here on the Habitual Muslim stream. I know that the guys all on the stream appreciated it, and I know it's a Ramadan, and so you're kind of trying to utilize your days and your nights as much as possible. So again, I really, really appreciate it, man. Sorry for going slightly over.
No worries.
But yeah, man, is there any last minute words or words of advice or wisdom that you'd like to leave us with?
I don't have much to say, to be honest, but thank you for having me, bro. And I hope people found it useful, both sharing both of our perspectives on things, and and let Faisal know as well, how you found this.
Yeah, let me know how you found it, guys, and be sure to check out Anas' channel. I've just seen in the comments that you've, I don't know if it's today, but you just hit 80k, so I don't know if you're aware of that or not, but congratulations.
Alhamdulillah.
100k soon, inshallah. I want to see that plaque in replacement of the world map.
Inshallah, let's
inshallah.
make it happen, inshallah.
Alright, Anas, you stay there. I'm going to end the
Yeah.
stream, and then inshallah I'll see you straight after that. So guys, thank
No
you so
worries.
much for watching. Let me know whether you're watching this on the stream or you're watching it a replay. Do comment below and let me know how you found it. How do you find the first kind of stream that we did with a guest? Do you enjoy the episodes with a guest? And make sure you go over to Anas's channel and show him some love and support. Alright guys, take care. We'll see you tomorrow inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.